وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. وأما بعد فقال الله الحكيم في محكم كتابه أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا أطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول وأولي الأمر منكم. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين سلام. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has accepted all of your good deeds and a'mal, especially every step, every effort, every single energy that you have spent on the path of the Ahlul Bayt and the Quran, especially in the beautiful month of Muharram, on the pathway of our beloved Sayyid al-Shuhada alayhi salatu wasalam, asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant all of us, inshallah, the tawfiq and bounty of His ziyarat in our life, and inshallah the benefits from His shafa intercession in the next by reciting in loud salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And inshallah we can include the souls of all of our marhumin and marhumat, the beloved ones, the new deceased ones within our majlis, inshallah, by reciting the second loud salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Since it is the month of Muharram, the month of sorrow and grief, and the month of commemoration and mourning for Sayyid al-Shuhada, inshallah we can express our condolences with the sincere of heart and intention to the heart of our Imam of time, Hazrat Sahib al-Asr al-Zaman, Ajalallah ta'ala farajah al-Sharif, by reciting our loudest of salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. We are all thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this bounty and blessing, to be able to continue, get together under the beautiful banner of Bani Hashim and the Ahlul Bayt, and specifically speaking the banner known as the banner of Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wassalam in the month of Muharram. So the days are going by, the nights are passing by. Are we getting ready for the day of Ashura? That was the question that we started our series of discussions from day one. That what is it that I would like to take from participating and attending and being present at a majlis with the name of Imam Hussein at the entrance of this majlis? There should be a difference, right? Why would around the world, as you guys tune into different channels, YouTube channels, social medias, you get news from your friends, you look around the world, you see different majalises, literally speaking, all over the world is happening under the very same name of Imam Hussein. What a marketing campaign has to be done. How much investment should be done? How many experts of marketing field have to come together to be able to do the same international campaign for one product? If anybody has gone to marketing, they know how much or how many years of studies it takes to be able to push a product internationally to the point that it regenerates itself every year, but regenerates itself in an increasing manner. Because usually the first year it becomes a trend. But for a trend to become again a number one trend the next year, you got to spend even more so from the first year that you have spent it on, in order to continue to have that number one spot. Then you look up on the statistics, you see this very same movement of Imam Hussein, the name of Imam Hussein, the number of the count of the majalis of Imam Hussein constantly is increasing. Constantly is becoming more. Don't just take a look at St. Louis, as I said, like local, like abroad, look international. Look at some of the statistics that is provided, even on some of the websites such as Wikipedia. Look at or look up the #1 peaceful religious, gathering, and you'll be surprised from #1 to I think 20. The last time I checked, you'll be surprised how many of those are actually related to Imam Hussein. You just want to make a guess? I think out of 20, 19 of them was related to Imam Hussein. 19 out of 20. What was that 20th? That 20th one happens to be something in India because the population that they had, right? But it never reoccurred. That's the catch there. Yes, we can make a push for it, but to make it to reoccur again every year in an increasing slope. And that's when we want to focus on it in terms of investment. But now, if you just let it go and it grows by itself, that's a whole different ballgame, right? You let it go and let it to regenerate by itself, continue to gain and become the #1 trend around the world. What does that indicate? What does that imply? Something about this movement of Imam Hussein that doesn't matter who gets interactions with, they get drawn towards it. And these are not only the words that I'm trying to say just as a public speaker, no. Right? These are the words that you can see in action. When, inshallah, if you guys go for the March of the Arba'in, you can see these words in action. How so? You see people walking with different professions, with different ideologies, with different faith. You see Christians walking for the sake of Imam Hussein. You see Jewish people walking for the sake of Imam Hussein. You see people who refer to themselves as atheists, yet again they participate in the walk of Imam Hussein. So what's the equation here? Right? What is that grand mind behind it? Who's that perfect engineer behind the movement of Imam Hussein that's been able to catch all of this attention and not only once, but constantly grows and grows and grows to the point that after 1,200, 1,300 years, has not even reached its full capacity. What is so unique about the movement of Imam Hussein that we cannot find it in the history of mankind, from the past all the way to the future? In the history, we know so many people who are famous, who are the heroes of the epic stories. We know so many movements who have started against the act of injustice. Yes? So many people have raised the flag of stopping an injustice act. But how many of those moves has been remembered like the movement of Imam Hussein? What's the difference between all of this? Why the number of the books that gets written for the sake of Abu Abdullah Hussein never comes to an end? How much of a history can you write about? History is based on facts, right? You can write only so many facts about the history. Once it finishes, it's finished. Maybe some details here and there. Then they talk about analysis of those facts, right? Then they talk about the viewpoints. Yes, it becomes more. But there should be an end. I mean, you should say, okay, I understood the tragedy or the movement of Karbala once and for all. Comes the next year, Muharram, the next speaker, the next set of fresh data or information for us. The fresh sense of perspective towards the movement of Imam Hussein. So what distinguishes this movement? And that's why we're lucky to be participating in Majlis of Imam Hussein. We cannot find any other movement, right? But then we go back again in the history of mankind, or you go in the future. What Abu Abdullah Hussein and along his loyal companions, the one that Imam refers to as the one-of-a-kind companions, the one that nor the history nor the future yet to witness people such as the companions of Imam Hussein. Been able to make that for all of us, that we must sit down, every session, every time we review the history of Karbala and the tragedy of Ashura, every time a new aspect of it becomes revealed for us. Every aspect of it is a new lesson. Every lesson of it could be an individual lesson, it could be a family lesson, it could be a lesson for the society that we live in, it could be a lesson that we can apply to our community, or no, it could be a lesson that we can apply to the entire world and humanity. As I mentioned, Imam Hussein is not only for us, the Shias. Right? We are lucky to have Imam Hussein, but Imam Hussein is the universal role model. He's the one who catches the hearts of every single person. Even the ones who were disbelievers. And I got proof for that. We come to the masjid of Imam Hussein, sometimes the intention is what? To mourn, right? To cry for Imam Hussein. I'm sure everybody knows the hadith. What's the bare minimum that has been mentioned in the hadith about the one who cries for Abu Abdullah Hussein? Anybody seen the fly? Everybody's seen the fly, right? What's the weight of the wing of the fly? Has anybody looked that up? I mean, you can Google it. You don't have to only Google the speaker, you can Google the weight of the wing of a fly. Make a guess. I don't know how much. I think once I did it, I could not find it exact because it's so, tiny, right? So imagine the person, he or she, doesn't matter, whoever, cries for the sake of Imam Hussein, for the weight of the wing of a fly. فَلَهُ الْجَنَّةِ. It's not that Allah grants him heaven. فَلَهُ الْجَنَّةِ. فَلَهُ الْجَنَّةِ means what? The heaven becomes obligatory upon him or her. It's a difference, right? Sometimes we say Allah grants us heaven, which means He gives us permission. Sometimes it becomes a right. Way difference. For what? For someone who cries for the sake of Imam Hussein, the weight of a wing of a fly. What equation is this? Right? What's the maximum when you go to the business world? It's always about investment, right? I put X amount of dollars, this is the rate that I get back, and I get Y amount of dollars back. There's always that rates that we always talk about. What's the rate that I'm going to get, the interest rate, whatever, right? Inshallah, the halal rate, we're not talking about the haram, right? So when it comes to this system of Abu Abdullah Hussein, you sit down, you try, you cry even for the slightest amount of tears, فَلَهُ الْجَنَّةِ فَلَنَا الْجَنَّةِ inshallah. Allah obligates heaven for us. What is that elixir that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed within Imam Hussein and his movement? That gives so much blessings, as if it's unlimited. And why is it so unique to Abu Abdullah Hussein? Why cannot we see it within even other Imams, nor we cannot see it within the previous prophets? Right? And as I mentioned, he's not only the Imams of us. Go to the day of Ashura, and guess who else cried for Imam Hussein? The number one enemy who was facing Abu Abdullah Hussein on the day of Ashura. The one who started the battle and asked people to bear witness that I am the one who started the battle. Obviously he had some other intention, right? So what does he do? He releases the first arrow on the morning of Ashura. Who is he? Umar Asad, right? Umar Asad on the day of Ashura releases the first arrow to start the fight against the last grandson of Nabi Rasulullah. The very same Umar Asad on the eve of Ashura, as they're about to finish up the affairs of Abu Abdullah Hussein, as Sayyida Zainab goes to the Tall Zainabiya, she looks down, the stage in which Imam Hussein is, she shouts at Umar Asad and the rest of the army, that is there any Muslim among you? When she says this, the historian, the reporter says, I looked at Umar Asad. He looked away from the Godal of Batsligah. In what stage? Here's the words of history. In a stage that his tears had covered his entire beard. He was crying. For who? For Imam Hussein. When? On the day of Ashura. When? Right before Imam's Shahada. Can you get any closer to that? We're what's the distance from here to Karbala? Right? After 1200 years, imagine on the day of Ashura, about a couple of yards from the Godal of Batsligah, looking at the scene, crying for the sake of Abu Abdullah Hussein. Is that the cry that Allah refers to? Or not? Right? What's the difference? We're talking about the worth of a weight of a fly's wing. He cried so much that his entire beard became wet. But none of those tears is going to come to his assistance. What's the difference? The tear is a tear. What? Is what?
Oppressor.
He's an oppressor, yes. He's an oppressor. But even an oppressor, right? Even if a person is an oppressor, there is a chance for them to repent. But if those tears come out of only that, what we call it, the emotional tears. Because obviously when you provide a scene in which there is a crime, you provide a scene to the extent of what took place in the tragedy of Ashura. And this is when I say it becomes universal. Because no matter what type of a people we talk to, what kind of a background, when it comes to the human basic instincts, they understand that killing an innocent child is wrong. Shooting an arrow towards a 6-month-old baby is not something that a normal human being would do. Actually, there is a famous story, because in some parts of the world, when it comes to the Muharram, they have a performance of Muharram. So they try to play every scene of the Muharram. So this story, what I was told by some legit speakers, they were saying this was happening in parts of India. So there, obviously, they have different roles. Each person volunteers to play the different role because they want to perform what took place in the day of Ashura. So obviously, the number one role that everybody wants to be is the role of Imam Hussein, right? The least favorite roles are Yazid and Shem, and you'd be surprised. Actually, the least favorite, mashallah, role is the one that nobody was going to sign up for. And that was the role of Harmala, or Hormala, I guess, as you mentioned, right? So what do? They start first within the community. Oh, we need volunteers. And I'll volunteer. What's a volunteer for? You have to play the role of Harm? No. That one, right? Community members, nobody would sign up. They start seeking outside within the neighborhood. They start putting an ad. We need a volunteer. Nobody would show up. They start offering money. We need a 1 day, a temporary job for X amount of hours, 1 or 2 hours, X amount of dollars. A lot of people start showing up. When they would give them the description, they would go. They start searching. Nobody would show up. Finally, one guy who had absolutely no idea, right? He probably was not even in his common sense. He just signed the contract. Okay, I will be there for an hour for X amount of dollars to say yes. What's the belief? No belief at all. He shows up on the day of Ashura when they're performing. It comes the scene in which he's supposed to perform his role. They hand him a bow, they hand him an arrow. And he's like, okay, what am I supposed to do? He doesn't know. He's like, you've got to take the arrow, put it on the bow, push it, pull it back, aim towards that, little, made-up tribe that we have, with cloth and stuff, and release the arrow. First, he looks at the guy, he's like, is this what I signed up for? Like, yeah, here's your signature. And don't worry, whatever we put here as money, we'll double it. Just do it right now, because right now it's a perfect scene. So he looks at the bow and arrow. He looks at the little kid. Anything. He looks at the bow and arrow. He looks at the infant. With a third time, and he's like, what kind of a sick person would release an arrow towards? He says, okay. So take your money, I don't want your money, keep your bow and arrow. He drops it, he leaves. The person who has no sense of ideological background understands this, right? What am I trying to get to? The movement of Imam Hussein is universal. In what sense? You don't have to be a Muslim. You don't have to be told Imam Shias to understand what Imam Hussein went through. All we have to do, we have to make sure we cleanse our hearts. The very same heart that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has embedded within every single human being on this planet Earth, which we refer to as innate nature or fitra. That innate nature exists within all of us. It's a matter of activating it, and it's a matter of cleansing the course that it takes. So I want to give you one, again, a little bit more interesting, an equation of this part. The first time we meet, a lot of times we say, Salaam alaikum, alaikum assalam, then how do we continue the conversation? We ask each other from the background stories, right? So where are you from, what do you do, what school do you go to, and what kind of job do you have, right? We ask all of this extra information in order to understand who the person is, and we get to know one another, yes? So technically speaking, if you look at my mind, probably I know all of you guys by the descriptions that you have provided. Plus I have a picture, the profile picture from all of you, right? Now imagine, for the sake of the argument, I say, you start to introduce yourself to me, But don't tell me any personal information. Introduce yourself to me, but don't tell me your name. Introduce yourself to me, don't tell me your last name. Introduce yourself to me and don't tell me where you live. What do you do? How much money you make? What's your future goal? Right? What's your background? Where are you from? Don't give me any of this data, but introduce yourself to me. What will we say?
Hi.
Hi? Introduction. That's the description. Hi is like, just like a phrase, right? This is one of the good practices. Introduce yourself to me, but I don't want to know your name, I don't want to know your last name, I don't want to know your age, occupation, your hobbies, I don't want to know your family, I don't want to know where you live, I don't want which community you go to. Introduce yourself to me.
I am Hussein.
I am Hussein?
Hussein.
No name. No name. No name.
Hussein.
No last name. Oh, I'm Hussein. You're attributing yourself to that. No description of someone else. I want to know you.
Tell me what you believe.
You can't tell me what you believe. Okay? Getting closer. Think about it. How would you introduce yourself?
The actions of the
I
character.
told you to bring your philosophy cap. He's thinking. Alhamdulillah. Right? Yes.
The way you act?
The way you act?
Yeah.
What do you mean? So
You can tell a lot about a person's character because how they treat others, how they treat older people.
well, we talk about like an introduction. So it's one instant. Right now we're sitting here, right? Imagine it's a session. I'll ask the same thing. And imagine you're allowed to drink chai. Imagine you're allowed to drink chai. Imagine I'm not this. I was going to go after the chai. No, imagine. It's against the rules, right? So imagine you're sitting here, there's chai, and you're talking, and all of a sudden I ask the same thing. Hey, I want to get to know you guys, right? But don't tell me your name. Don't tell me what you have done today, right? Don't tell me where you're from. Don't tell me how old are you. Don't tell me what are your goals. Don't tell me what you want to do. Don't tell me all of your problems. No, don't tell me any of this stuff. But yet again, introduce yourself to me. Are we able to introduce ourselves? Or no, there is nothing else? In sign language, mashallah, that's getting closer, right? So that's a different way. That's out of the box thinking. That's I like that creative thinking. Let's recite a salawat for him. What am I trying to get out of this one? My dear brothers and sisters, when we take away all of the stuff that is literally speaking important to us, the stuff I mentioned are very important to us. Our name, our family name, my age, my occupation, my resume, my accomplishments, right? Those are what it gives us that identity. Yes? When we want to go for a job interview, how do we introduce ourselves? I'm such and such, this is what I have done, this is where I've worked, this is and mashallah, 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 which is good, right? But when it comes to the system of Imam Hussein, as we say, it's the opposite. What's the opposite way? It's to remove all of this stuff. In what sense? Remove every single thing that we tend to form it as our identity. What happens when you remove the identity? Do we become non-existent? Do we vaporize in the air? Are we not there, or are we there? We're still there, mashallah. We're still, so there's something. What is that something that is there?
Our soul.
Your soul, there's something before the soul. The soul, inshallah, once we depart, yes, the soul becomes it manifests itself. Before the soul. Right now, you're sitting here, that's imagine. What do you have in common? Amir al-Mu'min has a very famous khutbah, famous phrase. He says people are either
Brothers in Iman or brothers in humanity.
they're either brothers in your faith or of the same kind in humanity. Now obviously what Imam says humanity is the true sense of humanity, right? So when we remove all of these identities, what remains? Humanity perhaps. What remains? Being a creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Can anybody here claim that I'm not a creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? I've been created by AIs? Okay? That becomes a common factor. And that's where it unifies the entire humanity. A lot of times, and that's one of the good questions to think about, because we see so many splits and people becoming divided, right? There's always this question, always keep it back in the back of your mind when inshallah the Imam of time comes. How is he able to unite everybody? How is he able to unite the Jews and the Christians and the Muslims and the non-believers? How is he able to unite the entire believer people around the world? Has anybody looked up the statistics? What percentage of the world are believers? Not only Muslims, not only Shias, but the believers. If I'm not mistaken, about 2/3 of the world, they claim to be believers. Yes? So that means 1/3 of the world, they claim to be disbelievers. So how come we're not doing anything about disbelievers? We have the majority, but again, the entire world, they tend to practice the disbelieving sets of life. If the majority, here's where majority has to actually answer, right? If the majorities are the believers, what we have done as believers to actually inform, maybe educate, maybe express or share the information that we have towards those who are disbelievers. You'll be surprised. Don't look just again around you, because as one of the having a community has so many blessings, yet again with the blessings comes some disadvantages. Well, one of those disadvantages, we get used to seeing the entire world through the lens of a community. So if I'm living within a believer community, I tend to assume that the entire world is the same. Everybody knows about Imam Hussein, everybody knows about Islam. These are number one, this is Islam 101. So why should I even bother? But you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised within your neighbor, you'll be surprised within your school, you'll be surprised within your work. So many simple things that people do not know. So who's supposed to convey the message? Imam of time? You put everything on his shoulder? Or is it vice versa? Are we supposed to be conveying that message? Remember the topic of last night? It's not a matter of us constantly gaining those blessings, but it's a matter of distributing what we have gained through the blessings of the Ahlul Bayt and the Quran. And that's how actually part of our responsibility is fulfilled. I cannot just look at it in a selfish mode, say, okay, if I understand it, if I practice it, alhamdulillah, that's it, khalas, I'm done for the day. If that was the case, what would Imam Hussein make his movements? He could have easily gone towards Yemen. He could have easily gone towards another part of the world. Say, hey, why do I bother? I go and have my family with me in some part of the world, and I live my happily ever after. No problem. But no, he decides to continue on the journey. The journey that Imam Hussein knows there is no return. The journey that he has been given and foretold and has been given the promise from the time of Nabi Rasulullah that, oh Hussein, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to see you murdered, wants to see you shaheed. So in a sense, Imam knows the outcome of it, but he continues, right? Why? If I just take it for myself, I'm not accompanying the path of Imam Hussein, right? That social aspect, the aspect of me being part of a community, that means I have to become an active part of the community. So many things, again, remember from last night? Each person at their own level. It's not like you're all expected to be at the maximum, let's say 100%, everybody has to go in debates and do all of this theological, philosophical, or fiqh and jurisprudential arguments. No. According to the level that we understand. Sometimes it's as easy as passing in a flyer, and you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised. I remember one of the reverts, he once came to the shrine of Imambargah, we were talking about this story and how they got introduced to Islam. You'll be surprised. He was saying at one event, a public event, right? I had gone and I saw this half a pamphlet, as if something like already got a pamphlet and they tear it apart to two pieces. A half of it was revealed in the bag of a person. So I was just reading, the lines. Half of a pamphlet. What can you put in a half of a pamphlet? How many words? How many lines maximum? No matter how fine are the lines you use, right? So I was just reading it. It just clicked. I realized, as if the lights were turned on. As simple as that. Then he continues to do more research. He comes all the way to the point it becomes a Shia. Right? What does that tell, you and I? We can do a lot of stuff. So we cannot minimize ourselves just to be present in a majlis. No, in a majlis we come, we take the barakat, we drink the chai. The chai itself is a barakat. Right? We joke about it. No, within the chai there is a barakat. Don't take this chai of the majlis of Imam or something, right? And that doesn't mean to go and drink 2 or 3 cups. No. The barakah means something so resourceful. So I have to take it in a moderate amount. Again, one more true story, and inshallah I'll hop on to the topic for tonight. It's usually when the Muharram starts, as you know, some people sponsor the programs every night, right? Each night one person, right? One of the great mosques back in Tehran, and this is a famous mosque, they were saying that on that year, as we were going through the programs of the Muharram, so usually people, they sponsor the first night, second night, third night. As they get closer to the nights of the 9th and the 10th, a lot of people want to sponsor because they want to make that smart move, right? So if you have so many people signing up, because on one day the head chairman of the mosque was waiting outside, welcoming people to come inside. This lady approached me, and by the look, she wasn't a very, let's say, 100% practicing believer. Like her chador, her job was not good, she had some makeups and all of stuff. So I couldn't say much, but I just said salam alaikum. She said salam alaikum, can I ask you questions like this? No, I'm at your service. She said, I want to sponsor the entire program of the night of Ashura. This is the night of Ashura, this is a big mosque, a lot of people come in, it's a lot of food, She says, how much does it cost? Obviously, being a chairman, he knows all the data, right? So he says, X amount of, let's say, whatever dollar, real, whatever you want to call it. She says, no problem. I take care of the entire thing, but make sure, give me some of that food. So I said, okay, no problem. If you want, maybe I can give you 10, 12, 20, 30. How many people are in your household? How many boxes do you want? She says, I just want 1 box. What do you mean 1 box? I just want 1 meal. 1 box. You sure if you bring you can take as much as you want? No, I just want 1 box. Is it is it only you or is it the family? Maybe you can give for the family members? She says, no, it's me and my husband and my kids. We only take 1 box. I said, why 1 box? She says, you guys don't know what a power this meal with the name of Imam Hussein has. And the guy is smart, so he wants to get the story out. So he continues the conversation. He's like, what happened? What's the story? He's like, me and my husband, we're not Muslims. We're they call it from Ahmadi, so we're technically Christians. So what are we doing at the night of Ashura in the masjid in the name of Imam Hussein? She says we have seen what this food can do to people. And that's why every year that comes, we sponsor for the night of Ashura, and we take only 1 box. What do we do with that 1 box? We don't eat it all on the same night, no. We put it in the freezer. So what do we do? Every time we cook a meal at home, we take a piece of this food that is provided on the night of Ashura. We put that one little, let's say, piece of the food, and we add it to our meal. That guarantees me, my husband, and my kids the immunity from sickness for the entire year. We have witnessed it. Every year, we do the same. See, we have so many blessings, we have so many barakat within our grasp. A lot of times, we don't value it. We have to understand what we are given to, what we have been gifted to, right? And that's why we have to be thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all of this that's been provided for us, to understand the value. And how other people have no idea about what's going on. And how it becomes important for us to be able to provide some of what we have taken. Right? Some of the information, perhaps some of the lectures, whatever that we can do within our circle of friends. It doesn't have to even go so far, right? Everybody here can become a representative of the school of thought of the Ahlul and the Quran. It's not like you have to have a finale of graduation in which each one is appointed. No, technically speaking, we all are representative of what we believe. And actually, in our case, being a minority, every single one of us are actually, in fact, a representative. Living in a country which majority are Shias is a different case, different stories, different challenges, but living as minorities. The way we talk, the way we act, the way we walk, right? The stuff we do, every single thing we do It forms what people understand about Islam, about Shia, about the school of thought of the Ahlul Bayt and the Quran. Responsibilities. So inshallah, as we come to the majlis of Imam Hussein, in the month of Muharram, we can think about this and inshallah we can reshape at least part of our behaviors. We can start with the 10 days. And everybody knows about themselves better than everybody else, right? We are like, no, I know myself better than everybody else knows me. You guys know yourself better than anybody else knows you, right? So we know what to change, to what extent to change. So in a sense, under these 10 days, we can set a goal, a personal goal. It doesn't have to be 40 days, it doesn't have to be 30 days of the month of Ramadan. Let's do it for the 10 days. What is it that I'm going to change for the sake of gaining that closeness to Imam Hussein inshallah? What is it that Imam Hussein is asking us to do? Is he asking us only to cry for him? Is he asking us only to show up in the majlis for him? What is Imam Hussein is asking us? Is he asking us for anything? Or we're trying to find an excuse to say, oh, Abba Abdullah, for the sake of this excuse, allow me to hold on to you as you are the ark of salvation. Safinatul Najah. Right? So I have to find that excuse. What will be that excuse? And it's not it's not rocket science. It's not a difficult thing. It could be simple things. Helping out each other during the majlis, before majlis, after the majlis. It's the third night of the majlis. What I've noticed, after the majlis, mashallah, it's a race of, as if like they're distributing gold and bitcoins outside of the center. Everybody runs. So what happens to all of the workers on the ground? Are we hoping for the angels to come in and clean up everything and put everything in order and mashallah, everything is good for the next day? That's a good hope, right? But that's also the hope that the home of Bani Israel had for Nabi Musa. When they're about to go to the battle, what did they tell him? Oh, Nabi Musa, you claim to be the prophet? Yes, okay. So go and fight the people with your God. Once you win, we come and we live. We come and we settle. You do all the hard work, we come for the joy. That's not how it's supposed to be. If I'm trying to gain that, what was the topic of our discussions? The prosperous companionship. If I'm trying to find that companionship, if I want a companionship which will provide me that prosperity, I have to make sure I pay the price for it. And you say, no pain, no gain. Right? We do that for other stuff. We do that for our, let's say, if you want to be in shape, what do? We spend so much time on different diets, and different gyms, and different workout plans, and different videos. We study so much. If you find it if you want to buy that specific dream car, if you want to get that specific dream job, how much time do we spend? Right? But when it comes to the matter of spiritual gain, a lot of times we just want it to be handed to us. Not only handed to us, we expect it to be handed to us. That's what the problem is. It's vice versa, right? I have to make sure I find that reason, that excuse, something. Something as little as perhaps flipping over all of this white cloth as people walk out. Something as little as passing out the Torah during the namaz. Something as little as, okay, if I go down and use the bathroom, if someone else before me had gone and I splashed all the water all over the mirror, I gently wipe out those waters. Doesn't have to be a specific person, brother A, B, C, D, who always has to run after stuff. No. The movement of Imam Hussein, the movement of Majalis of Imam Hussein. Right? So that's how we have to get, and again, we'll be looking for that excuse. Remember the Ashab of Nabi Rasulullah? They would not leave the drop of the water of his wudu to reach the ground. So people before us have done it. It comes to us. We can do it. We can leave it alone, no problem. This year will pass by, inshallah. The next year will come, and the next year, inshallah. And Allah grants all of you and all of us, inshallah, 1,000 years worth of living on this planet Earth. Whoever wants to live 1,000 years. 1,000 years. Poor Nabi Nuh, sometimes we say he lived so long, right? But imagine living on this planet Earth for 1,000 years. You get tired, right? Inshallah, Allah grants all of you, no problem. But what is it that we're taking? What is it that we're building? What is it that we're sending before us for our eternal abode, for our eternal home, right? In what stage are we living? And in what, like, let's say, dream, what hope do we have? It's unlimited amount of gain. What do we take with us? That becomes the $1 million question, the actual $1 million question, right? That how smart can we act on this decision making? Now, nonetheless, today will be the third day of Muharram. The third day of Muharram, number 3. I know there are different cultures when it comes to commemoration and mourning and like doing the sorrow and the grief for the sake of Imam Hussein. But I myself personally have something about this number 3. What does number 3 represents to me every time when it comes to time of Muharram? I remember the 3-year-old of Imam Hussein. Just like that little baby that was crying. Take yourself where? To the land of Karbala. Before the day of Ashura. Let's remind ourselves of a 3-year-old girl, right? Who's famously known as Sayyida Ruqayya. If you guys ever go to Syria and Damascus, there is this little shrine, a very beautiful shrine, but a very small shrine within the city side. Not within the wreckage of the Sham, but within the city side, in which when you go, it has the name of Sayyida Ruqayya written on it, Hazaqat bint al-Hussein, Sayyida Ruqayya. It's a very small shrine when you look at it. Now remember, when it comes to the movement of Imam Hussein, it's not a matter of age, it's not a matter of gender, it's not a matter of even of a background. It's a matter of the presence. How much are we able to hold on to this arc of salvation, right? That's what is important. So one of the role models for all of us is this 3-year-old daughter of Imam Hussein. Now take a look at her life before the day of Ashura or before the 8th of Muharram and afterwards. So she lived about a month, right? Because her Shahada is actually on the 5th of Safar. So subtract that from the 10th of Muharram, that gives about like 25 days, give or take. So she only lived about 25 days after the event of Ashura. I'm sure everybody has siblings at their home. Everybody has the younger ones at their home. How would the families treat the younger kids, especially as they're infants, especially as they become 1-year-old, especially as they become 2-year-old, especially as they become 3-year-old, especially if they're a girl in the family? There's something unique about a 3-year-old girl. When you look at the child, psychological reports, they say at the age of 3, kids represent sincerity. What does it mean? It means when they ask for something, they ask it with their full heart. They would not take no for an answer if they want anything. It's impossible to tell them no. You just have to give it to them. They ask it with their entire heart, right? Now, a 3-year-old Sayyida Ruqayya. In which household? The household of Abu Abdullah Hussein. A little bit more of a description. Those who have gone to Karbala, they know. The very first time you lay your hands on his beautiful shrine, you do not want to let go of that shrine. That's a shrine, that's a pieces of silver, belongs to the name of Imam Hussein, and we cannot let go of that shrine. Imagine if you're born within the household of Imam Hussein. Imagine every day you open up your eyes, you see the beautiful face of Abu Abdullah. Every time you want to go to sleep, you say good night and farewell to Imam Hussein. Imagine every time you want to eat, and every time you want to go around, every time you want to play around, there is Abu Abdullah Hussein. For 3 years, Sayyida Ruqayya. Within the best of the best of the best of the families of time, how much love and respect has she been getting and getting and getting? Now fast forward to about the 10th of Muharram, or better to say 11th of Muharram. It changes. The 3 years full of love and joy turns to what? Turns to about 25 days full of calamities and ibtila and all of this difficult situation and harassment and physical harassment of this very same 3-year-old, as they call it, the Aziz Dordana of Imam Hussein. How would that change the spirit of a child? How would that change the personality of a child? that every time she looks up, what does she see? As they're taking the caravan and as they're taking the groups of the Osara and the prisoners, every time she looks up, what does she see? You guys all have heard of the reports that specifically as they were removing the prisoners, they had ordered to take the heads of the shuhada in front of the group. So what happens when you raise your head? What do you see on top of the spear in front of you? And it's not only one time, it's not only 1 second, it's not only one scene, it's not 1 hour, it's not 1 day. For how many days? Is it only that? No. As she describes, right? Every time she wanted to cry, imagine a 3-year-old, as she sees such a scenery, all of a sudden the natural reaction is to cry. Every time there will be a drop of tear coming down from the face, the retaliation answer was either a slap on the face, a kick on the back, or getting hit by the side of a spear. To the point that she was even afraid of raising her voice. Look at the Mahatir. How many times did these little women and children ask for water and food on the way from, all the way from Karbala to Kufa, all the way to Sham? No sense of mercy at all, but all there was fear. Now, this is the 3rd day of Muharram. Let's inshallah go to the Kharaba of Sham, to the wreckage of Sham, and inshallah we can connect our hearts to the hearts of this 3-year-old Sayyidah Ruqayyah. Don't look at her age again. Look at how much she has been able to provide. To the point that there are karamat and karamat, this miraculous works that has been reported by her, from the people who live around her shrine. And guess what? Not all of them are Muslims. Because Syria is known to have a lot of different demographics when it comes to ideological sense. So you have Muslims, you have Christians, you have Jews, you have non-believers. Everybody lives there. A lot of this report comes from even non-Muslims. One of them, I'll tell inshallah for tonight, the guys who were in charge of the servants about her shrine, they were trying to do expansion of the shrine, and one of the houses would not sell their property for the sake of expansion. So they try to offer more money, a higher bid, and no, nothing goes through. One of the servants says, one day we saw the man, the landowner, he walked in and he offered his entire property at no cost. We asked him, what happened? We've been trying to buy your land for so many years at a higher price. We'll never give in to. And all of a sudden you come in and you hand in your entire property at no cost. He says, just take this. This is a promise that I made and I have to fulfill my promise, as he's crying and shaking. Okay, what happened? What's the story? He says, me and my wife, we're non-Muslims. But we happen to have this house which is close to the shrine of what you refer to as Sayyidah Ruqayyah. We have no idea who is she, who is her background. We actually don't believe in this stuff. So I says, okay, so what happened? He says, me and my wife, we were trying to have a baby for such a long time. For some reason, we could not have a baby. Finally, we were able to actually bear a child. When we got closer and closer and closer to the time of delivery, the doctors gave us the news that there's a problem here. What's the problem? You have to make a choice, either to save the life of your wife or to save the life of your newborn. We cannot save both of them. You have to choose. And I got stuck in the situation where I cannot choose. This is the love of my life, my wife, and there is a love of something that we've both been waiting for, the newborn. What am I supposed to do? The time is ticking, the hour of operation is getting closer, and I'm supposed to make a decision which one to pick. I cannot pick, I cannot make that decision. So what do? I keep on walking in the room, and they put my, they take my wife to the surgery room. As I'm walking, I don't know what else to do, where else to go, who to ask. I walk outside of the hospital, and as I'm amazed and puzzled and have no idea where to go, I notice that a group of people are going in the form of a commemoration towards this shrine which is close to our house. I don't even know how did I started walking towards this shrine, because I don't believe in this stuff. I start following that group of people. Whatever they were doing, I was trying to mimic whatever they were doing. They came in, they said some of the phrases that I was not familiar to me. So I saw the shrine of this person. I place my hand over it and I say, whoever you are, I don't know how to ask this, but if you're able to do anything for me, I'll promise in return, I will give my land for the sake of the expansion of this place. So I was there for some time. When I went back to the hospital, I saw the doctors and nurses are all running around. I thought I was already too late. I immediately asked her which room is my wife is. The nurse smiled at me. It's like, oh, you haven't heard? It's like, what haven't heard? It's like, oh, go to this room. I started running towards the room that the nurse was telling me. The minute I opened the room, the minute I opened the door, I saw my wife with my newborn in her lap. I did not know to cry or to laugh, to be happy or to be sour, because this was the whole question and the puzzle. What happened? My wife looked at me and told me, where have you been all this time? I was like, I was trying to run after all the affairs and stuff. Like, no, where have you gone? Who did you speak to? What did you do? I said, I didn't do anything special. No, you did something special. What did you do? What happened? She says, when you left, they took me to the surgery room. As they were about to start the operation, I saw myself looking at my own body from the top of the room, as if like I'm recording my own body. And I could see the doctors and nurses are running around and they're trying to continue with the operation, and it's like a very stressful situation, but I was just looking at my body laying down there. Because all of a sudden, the door of the room opened up. This little kid, little girl, about age of 3, started walking inside of the room. No one else is able to see her. And she started running inside of the room. She started circling around my bed 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. And she looked at me while I was looking at my own body. So she could see me. I could see her. No one else could see her. And she started smiling at me. I started smiling back at her. And I said, well, what's your name? What are you doing? How come nobody else is able to see her? She just raised her hand in the form of a wave of saying like farewell, and she started walking outside of the room. As she was about to exit the room, she again turned around and says, tell your husband we have taken care of our part. Just remember his part. And by the way, my name is Ruqayya. I am the daughter of Hussein. She said that as she left the room. The next thing I know, I come through and I see that I am alive and the baby is alive. So where did you go and who did you talk to and who is this person, Ruqayya? The husband breaks down to tears. He says, this is the shrine that we live next to. He comes home and he offers his entire property to the custodians of the shrine. It's not a matter of age. It's a matter of connection. So let's go to the Kharabat of Sham. Let's go to the wreckage of Sham tonight. In the middle of the night, all of a sudden, Sayyidah Ruqayya wakes up. In what stage? She's asking for her father. As if 25 days has passed, and she's been constantly asking Sayyidah Zainab. Every time she sees Sayyidah Zainab, oh auntie, where is my father? You told me that he has gone traveling. When is he coming back? The little kids, they have this habit. They have to report everything to their parents. The first time they see them, they report everything that has happened to them. Because their support is their parents. Especially the relation between a daughter and a father. So she wakes up in the middle of the night. She's screaming and she's crying and she's constantly asking, oh Babajan, oh father, where are you? Sayyidah Zainab had told me, all of the women, they try to come around and try to calm her down. Her shout and cries makes the other women and children to cry as well. Such a long time, they finally get a chance to mourn for Imam Hussein in the middle of the wreckage of Sham. The sound of the cry goes out. It goes so high to the point that Mal'un in Dar al-Imara hears the sound of the women and children crying. He asks what's going on. They say it's a 3-year-old of Imam Hussein. What does she want? She's constantly asking for her father. That Mal'un says that's easy. Take it to her. Let her have it. Let her see it. What is he talking about? In the middle of the night, the guards approach the wreckage of Sham. They carry this tray that is covered with a piece of cloth. They enter the wreckage of Sham, and the guard points the tray towards Sayyidah Ruqayya. First, Sayyidah Ruqayya looks at the tray with the cover over it, and she turns around and says, I did not ask for any food. I'm not hungry. I'm not thirsty. I just want to see my father one more time because I saw him in my dream and he had opened his arms. He was telling me, Ta'al, Ta'al, oh come to me, my dear one. I've been waiting for you for such a long time. I just want to see my father one more time. The guard pushes the tray towards the chest of Sayyidah Ruqayya. So take it. This is what you're asking for. Now a 3-year-old, how big of a hand does a 3-year-old have? She cannot hold on the tray she places on the ground. But she's curious to remove the cover or not. She does not know what's beneath the cover. So she's asking herself, takes some time, finally reaches forward. With her tiny hand, she removes the cover from the tray. But what does she see is underneath the cover of the tray that she pulls back at first, and she's looking at what she's seeing, not recognizing what she's seeing in front of her. My question to all of you, what has taken place with the head of Imam Hussein for her 3-year-old daughter not to recognize the face of her own father at the first glance? She waits and she waits and she waits. Then she embraces the head of Imam al-Hussein with both of her hands. She gently embraces the head of Abu Abdullah, takes her closely to her chest, and places her on her lap. Now she is trying to report back to Abu Abdullah. Oh, Baba Jan, where have you been? She's not even talking about all of the problems. The very first thing she does, she says, oh Hussein Jan, what has happened to you? Who has done this to your hair? Who has done this to your teeth? Who has done this to the veins of your neck? Oh Baba Jan, what has happened to your skin? What has happened to your beautiful smile? As she's running her tiny hands over the face of Abu Abdullah, trying to make sure that the face is in a way of being representable. She's constantly crying, and with her tears is washing the washing the face of Imam Hussein. Then she starts to report back. Oh Baba Jan, do you know what has happened to me? Oh Baba Jan, do you know who has made me an orphan? Oh Baba Jan, do you know when you left us? Do you know Sanan? Do you know Shamr? Do you know Kholi? Do you know what they have done to us? Oh Baba Jan, should I show you the side of my face? Oh Baba Jan, should I show you my bruised body? Oh Baba Jan, where have you been all of these 25 years? And as she's mourning and mourning and mourning, all of a sudden they say there was a pitch black silence. Sayyidah Zainab looks up, the head of Abu Abdullah on one side, the body of Sayyidah Ruqayya on the other side. They shout out, Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بثنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب والمتان. السلام على وعلى علي بن وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. اللهم إنا نسألك ونعوذ باسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم اللهم بحق محمد وعلي وفاطمة والحسن والحسين وتسعة المعصومين من ذرية الحسين. يا الله يا الله يا الله يا الله يا الله يا الله يا الله. Oh Allah, will ask you on the right of Imam Hussein and the right of Sayyid al-Ruqayya to hasten the appearance of our Imam on time, and to grant all of us the bounty of being part of his true companionship. Oh Allah, will ask you for forgiveness upon all of us, upon all of our marhamin and marhumat, and will ask you to provide complete shafa for all of those who have come down with sicknesses, especially mu'mineen and mu'minat of the community and around the world. Oh Allah, will ask you to extend your support and mercy upon all of the oppressed ones, mazlumeen, mazlumat, mu'mineen, mu'minat around the world. Oh Allah, will ask you to grant all of us the true ma'rifah and understanding of what Imam of time is and who the Imam of time is, and be able to follow the footsteps of the Ahlul Bayt and Quran. Oh Allah, will ask you to convey the message of Islam to our next generations and offsprings. Oh Allah, will ask you to grant all of us the tawfiq of the ziyarat of the Ahlul Bayt in this world and their shafa'ah in the next. Oh Allah, will ask you to place our life, the life of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad, and inshallah our death, the death of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. رحم الله من غير عن الفاتحة مع الصلوات.